In the last couple of lessons, we've looked at creating an action. And they're pretty straightforward, aren't they? There's not a lot going on. Now, you can make them more complicated. But as a designer, that's not really my goal. My goal is to design. And the program takes care of, follows my moves, and allows me to do, well, just about whatever I want to do, and then save it as an action. So we look at actions as things that we need to do more than once. But so far, all we've done is apply them to one image at a time, and we want to get more efficient. So you have a folder that has 4 images in it. Actually, if you've saved the changes that we've made to the first 2 images, reinstall the original images here. Reinstall the originals. We need to create a batch. And the cool thing about this is you don't have to have anything open. So let's go into Photoshop. In Photoshop, go up to the word File on the pull-down menu and go down to Automate. Cool stuff here. Go to Batch. In Batch, we're filling out a form. So what action do we want to apply? Let's go into our Egypt set. We have 2. One does the color correction without flattening the image. It leaves the adjustment layer there. The other one does the same thing, but it flattens the image. So one gives you control after the fact, one kind of locks you in. Let's do color restoration 1. Where are they? Now, if we go to Folder right here, we can go Import if we have open files, etc. If we're in the bridge, we can go to the bridge. Let's choose the folder. In my case, I will be going to the exercise files, and there they are. There are the 4 images that we were working with, and I'll click Choose. Now, our options. Override Action Open Commands. If you select Override Action Open Commands, it will warn you that the option is on and the source file will be opened from the source folder only by open steps in the action. We didn't open these, did we? They were already open. Most of the time, you're not going to need that one, so we're going to leave that off. In other words, don't use an open command in the action. Open them from the folder we chose. Do you have any subfolders, and do they have anything in them? If they do, and you want to apply the same action, go ahead and turn that on. These I usually leave on. Now, if you've set up color settings, and we talked about that earlier, sometimes you'll get an image that comes in, and it will say that the color space doesn't match, and almost 10 times out of 10, basically what you're going to do is ignore it. Why do I want to answer a question maybe 100 times, once on every image that I know the answer to? So I usually say, nah, suppress. Now you have 3 destinations. None is interesting because it allows you to make the change, but it doesn't close the image before it opens up the next one. So think about having 100 images, and you're processing them, and it opens up the first one, does the process, then the second does the process, get it? You'll have 100 images open. I'm not sure if you can do that or not. If you've got a small batch, you want to look at them before you save them. That might not be a bad option. We're going to leave that one alone. Save and close is nice because it performs the procedure and then basically saves it and closes it. But that means you're overwriting the original. And if you don't have the originals, that may not be too smart. I usually want to put them into another folder. Now that leads me to one more thing. I'm on a Macintosh. I'm going to press F11. Now, that allows me to kind of clear things out so you can kind of see things on my desktop. Those folders, and forgive the little icons I make, I sometimes get a little bit wonky. Those folders represent holding areas for things that I do over and over again. For example, I use a video audio capture program called Camtasia, and that folder right down there is every time I do a recording, it goes into that folder. When I'm using Final Cut Pro and I run a compression, I know where the file's going to be, which leads us to this one right here. Photoshop Action Holding. Now you don't have to do this, but every time I create a batch, no matter what it is, the file's going to go in there. So it's not a bad idea maybe to right-click your mouse and create a new folder, give it a name, and always use that when you're creating a batch. You don't have to, but it's not a bad idea. Let's go ahead and go back to Photoshop. Okay, so choose right here, and I'm going to go into my desktop, and what I'll do is I'll look for that folder, and there it is, PS Action Holding. Click Choose. You have an override save, but again, if you click that option, you're saying that the actual action has a save in it, and we didn't do that. We turned it off before we saved it, so we're not going to turn that on. We're going to tell the computer no, just go ahead and save them in this folder. But the cool thing down here is I can rename them if I want to. Now, the default for this is document name and extension, meaning give them the same names that they had. But maybe you want to put these into numerical order. And so I can come up here and say, okay, give me a 3-digit serial number. And you can see what it's going to do, 001, 002, 003, and put an extension on the end, and you could do as much as you want. Now I want to start the serial numbers at whatever. Compatibility to Windows and Unix and Mac. Stop for errors. Well, that just means if it doesn't quite know what to do with that file, it's going to stop and make you make a decision. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do here is tell the computer I'm going to log the errors to a file, then save as down here, and give it a name, like I would call it maybe errors. Or how about PS errors? I usually save these on the desktop. It makes it easier to get to. Click Save. And now I'm set. It knows where they are. It knows what I want to do. It knows where to send them. And if it's got a problem, it will keep going, but it will log the errors into the error text file. So if you have hundreds of images you're processing, and each image takes, well, let's say it's a complicated action, takes 30 seconds. That's like 50 minutes, 100 divided by 60 into 30. 50 minutes. I don't want to sit here and wait for 50 minutes and watch this on the one-off that I might have one that's wrong. Put them in the errors file. I'll look at that later. Click OK. That's batching. I absolutely love it. Now, if we go into F11 again, let me get out of here, and go into PS Action Holding, there they are. Total control over the images, applying exactly the same thing to each one, whether it's 4 or 4,000. Actions can do that for you. On to the next.